Hello, and welcome to Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, the finest wax museum in all the world. Since the 17th of August, Madame Tussauds has been exhibiting wax models of the greatest characters of our past in like pairs and offering in-depth and insightful comparative analyses for your learning benefit. But don't take my word for it. Make yourself comfortable and enjoy the Legends from Antiquity. Good day, fellow historians and ancient history enthusiasts. My name is Dr. Jeremy Oswald Coventry, and I am the curator of this new wing of the museum. I have personally selected to pair each of these wax sculptures and recorded this informative video presentation to help you understand these ancient personalities. Today's pair consists of the ruler of the East Roman Empire, Nero Caesar, and the feared king of the Huns, Attila, who was also referred to as the Scourge of God. So what could Nero and Attila possibly have in common? After all, one was the sole ruler of what was once the greatest empire on earth, whereas the other, a horrific barbarian leader who ate raw meat and plants. Well, on closer inspection of historical events, the assumption can be made that both of these ancient leaders were driven in a psychopathic manner. They strived to achieve their goals, regardless of who was to be brutally slaughtered. They did exactly as they wanted, and not even family would stand in their way. I shall start by telling you the story of the beginnings of Lucius Domitius Anabarbus. Domitius was born at Antium on the 15th day of December of the 37th year of the Common Era. His mother was none other than the sister of Emperor Caligula, Agrippina the Younger, an ambitious, scheming, and rather influential woman. Being born into the imperial family, however, was not as easy as one might expect. Agrippina was on bad terms with her brother, and was banished, leaving young Domitius alone in the imperial palace for several years. She only returned once her uncle Claudius had been crowned emperor and had called her back from exile. After this long, loveless period in Domitius's life, his mother seduced and married Claudius in the year 49. He was finally given a good education, and was tutored by the philosopher Lucius Annaeus Seneca and Sextus Afranius Burrus. Domitius was also betrothed to Claudius's daughter Octavia, and later adopted by Claudius himself in the year 50. In that year, little Domitius became known as Nero Claudius Drusus Germanicus. All this was Agrippina's doing. Conveniently, in the year 54, Emperor Claudius died from consuming a poisoned mushroom, and Nero was appointed the new emperor of Rome. Little did Agrippina know that her son would grow up to be one of the cruelest and most destructive leaders which mankind had ever witnessed. Another boy born to be a leader was Attila. Attila was born at the start of the 5th century, after Nero's time. However, much like Nero, Attila too was subject to abuse. He was not neglected though. Attila, according to Hunnic customs, had his face slashed at birth. Like Nero, Attila's position was handed to him on a plate. Once his uncle died, he and his brother Bleda came to power. Although Bleda was the actual king, he was very much in Attila's shadow. It is said that the brothers had a falling out about whether to attack Rome or not. Attila was for the idea, but Bleda was not. In the year 443 of the Common Era, Bleda was conveniently killed in a hunting accident. What was most likely the case was that Attila had his brother assassinated, so that he may lead his army to battle against the Romans. This man would kill whoever he saw fit, even his own brother. This kind of parricidal quality was also seen in Nero's character. Nero did not like his mother. The first of his 3 evil deeds for which he is best remembered was when he turned 21 years of age, the murder of his own mother. After 2 failed attempts at her life, he blatantly ordered his guards to find her and bludgeon her to death. Agrippina had tried everything to retain control over her son, even going to such an extent as having intercourse with Nero. This didn't stop Nero from his matricidal intentions though. And as if killing his own mother was not enough, he then went on to stalk innocent men at night with his gang of friends, rape the strangers, and if they put up a fight, he stabbed them and left them to die in the sewer. This kind of bloodlust was not only common to Nero. Attila was feared for brutally attacking ancient civilizations. He once attacked the West Roman Empire because the emperor of the time, Valentinian, refused to give him a wedding dowry consisting of half of his empire. By chance, Valentinian's sister had been involved in an imperial sex scandal and had been sentenced to chastity by her brother, who wished to send her to a nunnery. She had heard of Attila and considered him to be her only hope of saviour from her brother's harsh sentence, so she sent him her ring. Once Attila received the ring, he treated it as a marriage proposal and demanded the huge dowry. To Attila, Valentinian's refusal was as good as asking to be invaded. This aggressive warlord would find any excuse to engage in combat. The Gothic historian Jordanes wrote that Attila was a lover of war. On his way to attack the Visigoths, he spotted a settlement of Alani people residing by the river Loire and attacked them, purely in the hopes of word of his ruthlessness spreading to the Visigoths and scaring them. Many men were slaughtered. Similarly, Nero was suspected of recklessly killing thousands. Although there is not enough evidence to link Nero to the Great Fire of July 64, which burned more than half of the city of Rome, he was prime suspect of starting the fire. He was on holiday at his seaside villa, and apparently held a performance where he sang of the destruction of Troy after he had heard the news of his city burning to the ground. To add to the suspicion, he built his grand Domus Aurea, the Golden House, on the destroyed remains of nearly half of the city. Upon building himself this great new residence, he is quoted to have said, "Finally, I can begin to live like a human being." This man would have appeared to have no regard for others. In fact, Nero once burned all the Christians in Rome on wooden crucifixes as scapegoats for the Great Fire of July 64. This was the third of his most infamous acts. He was indeed a menace to society. One might think that these men died in some glorious battle, or as the victim of a clever assassination. However, neither of these men died directly due to an enemy. They were both victims of themselves, and both deaths were ugly and shameful. On the 9th of June 68, Nero ordered his servant to kill him, since he did not have the courage to do so himself. He had upset the most popular military general in Greece, and on top of that, had been declared a public enemy by the Roman Senate. He had no other choice than to commit suicide. His last words were, "Calis artifex perio," which translates to, "What an artist the world loses in me." Attila's death came shortly after marrying one of his many brides. He had been drinking during the ceremony and had passed out on his back in his bed. Whilst lying unconscious, he suffered a nosebleed. Since he was lying on his back, his blood dripped into his trachea, preventing him from breathing. Upon hearing of his death, the men of the Huns scarred their faces to mourn with their blood, rather than with effeminate tears of women. At first, Nero and Attila might seem an unlikely pair for this section of the exhibit, but on closer inspection it can be said that both of these legends of antiquity were evil, possibly due to their harsh childhoods, and were feared by the Romans. I hope you have all enjoyed this comparison and have learned much about these ancient personalities. See you in the next section.